Awaz 103.1 FM. Voice of the community. Entertainment and education 24 hours a day, all year round.
मुअज़्ज़ज़ सामीन, पेंडल बारो काउंसिल की तरफ से एक इंतहाई अहम ऐलान समाअत कर लीजिए। कोरोना वायरस कोविड-19 अभी तक हमारे साथ मौजूद है। इस जानलेवा वायरस को फैलने से रोकने के लिए आप भी इक़दामात कीजिए। बराए करम अपने ख़ानदान, दोस्त अहबाब और पूरी कम्युनिटी को महफूज रखिए।
Pendle Community Radio is a full-time community radio station broadcasting from Nelson to the whole of East Lancashire, and our main focus is health, education and social welfare.
The Prime Minister has announced the most drastic limits to our lives that the UK has ever seen in living memory.
The practical challenges Pendle Community Radio faced was, number one, being a media organisation, we had to be on air 24/7 to inform the community of what was happening during this pandemic. The other challenges were our staff, our volunteers, and the guidelines we had to follow from the government related to COVID-19. And so what we did strategically is to adapt to the changes. Number one was that we started putting transmission and broadcasting equipment at our presenters' homes or where they felt comfortable to transmit from. And secondly, that we had to make sure that information on coronavirus was into the local languages that were spoken locally: English, Urdu, Punjabi and Gujarati. So we had to make sure that we were myth-busting the local issues at local level.
Pendle Community Radio, I feel, has been at the heart of the sharing of information and making sure the information is getting into households. And I must say, Pendle Community Radio station, with various different presenters from different backgrounds who speak different languages, have been able to break down that barrier, that language barrier, to get information as clear as ice, so to speak.
My show is all about community-based program, and we look at different things around what's happening around the community, mental health, well-being, and especially in this COVID time, I was encouraging people to go out for fresh air, doing a bit of exercise, getting the elderly out of the house. My mentoring program is all about mental health, well-being, and I found in particular with Sahil Usman, he is a 14-year-old boy who's got leukemia, and he was struggling during this COVID time. During my program, we started talking about random things about how COVID is affecting people, and because he's ill and restricted, he wasn't allowed to do much outside, so he had to be at home. We had really good feedback from the listeners out there saying that you're doing really well with this boy.
So I host a show here on Pendle called Let's Talk with Saima, Ashraf each week, and I have different organisations on discussing topics affecting British Asians, British Muslims. During COVID, it was a platform for us to keep in touch with the community with all issues relating to Corona. So we had people like Vince Green, who's one of the finance directors of Pendle Borough Council on, because there was a lot of businesses that were concerned around financial issues, how they were going to manage. We had him on explaining the different grant schemes.
Well, Pendle Council has a really good relationship with Pendle Community Radio, and certainly since COVID came into being in March of this year, we've had to form an excellent relationship on behalf of the community, because we've got a lot of vulnerable people who are in Pendle, who need help, who need guidance. And I found that Pendle Community Radio is a fantastic source of information. I'm proud that Pendle Community Radio has risen up to the challenge that we set them. So the whole community is covered, and that's a partnership that I want to continue well into the future.
Since the lockdown on March the 23rd, we had to change the way we were communicating with our audience. Our audience ranged from the Pakistani, the Indian, the Bangladeshi community, mostly the Southeast Asian community. What we did, my show was on Saturday. Because of the lockdown, we couldn't come to the radio station, so I was doing it from home. The first couple of weeks, we had a lot of technical issues using Skype, etc. But the good thing about our radio station was we were actually giving out the key messages to the most vulnerable, to the most elderly people in our community, people who couldn't understand English, with regards to the Prime Minister's messages, the public health messages. So we had that platform where we can reach out to all the communities across Lancashire.
So alhamdulillah, I've been doing a show on Pendle now for about 15 to 16 years, alhamdulillah, and one of the things that I like to focus about is I like to be in with what's happening within our fellow young Muslims within the community. So I like to tackle and I like to talk about issues that are affecting our young Muslims within the Lancashire area. With the corona that's been happening, I've realised that it affected a lot of people mentally. A lot of people were very depressed, a lot of people were very sad, a lot of people did not know how to deal and even understand what the COVID or the corona was at the beginning. So my main aim was I would concentrate more on something a bit more funny, something a bit off topic, and just something, even if it's for an hour, just to get the listeners' mind off things and to just cheer them up and make them smile.
Well, because of COVID and the impact on our local community, I have to adopt the program according to the need, and as it was health-related program, we talk about health, it became very relevant for me to talk about COVID and impact it has on the community. So what we did was we adopted, got latest guidelines, talked to relevant people, and made sure the community understand ever-changing the rules and regulations. We were really keen that people understand the signs and symptoms in case they got COVID, but we actually got Director of Public Health from Lancashire, from Blackburn v Darwen. We also talked about impact it has on, if there's a death in the community, how to deal with it. But most importantly, when we realize that people have to self-isolate, stay at home, not able to meet and greet family, friends, we talked about domestic abuse and health impact on that. So it has opened a huge discussion in the community.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम, इस वक्त आप समाप्त कर रहे हैं आवाज़ रेडियो 103.1 FM और जहाँ तक मेरी आवाज़ पहुँच रही है मोहम्मद जली की तरफ से प्यार भरा सलाम कबूल कीजिएगा। अस्सलाम वालेकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू। जैसा कि आप जानते हैं कि इस वक्त आप समाप्त कर रहे हैं पेंडल और बल्ले की खूबसूरत वादियों में आवाज़ 103.1 FM मोहम्मद जली के साथ आपका और हमारा साथ रहता है रात के 11 बजे तक, जिसमें इंशाल्लाह खूबसूरत से खूबसूरत कलाम के साथ साथ बहुत ही खूबसूरत बातें इंशाल्लाह आपके साथ शेयर की जाएंगी।
I think the role Pendle Community Radio has played in our local community here is absolutely vital from different aspects. Firstly, obviously, in terms of getting the message, general message across in terms of COVID-19 itself, the rules and regulations, what we can and can't do, bringing in different presenters, different topics, and I think that plays absolutely fantastic role in terms of trying to keep our community and the listeners' minds occupied and challenged, and also to show and demonstrate that there is somebody available for them to listen to and talk to.
The impact that Pendle Radio has on the community, the feedback that we received from them is that without the radio, they would have gone more crazy in terms of their mental health, with the domestic issues, with the food parcels, with the signposting. This was very useful. We had people who have been directly affected by the pandemic, and their testimonies alleviated a lot of myth busting that was spreading around. Besides the virus, also the G5 connection, which we brought scientific people in to combat that one. We become a voice of the community in the sense that it's a reliable, honest, local news for the local community.